Hi, I'm Paul Criscuolo, and I am a 45-year veteran of the spirits industry. I started in 1978 as a mere, spring chicken. My first job at a company called Seagram in New York. I went through from basic level, entry level, all the way to vice president of sales. I also did marketing as well, and really was part of both a revolution in the industry of basically moving to a more technical aspect of how we approach data, how we use it, and how it helped us to find and motivate consumers and customers to buy. Through that course of events, I've worked in open states and control states. For those of you who don't know the control state, there are 17 control states and a few control state counties in the United States. They do about 22% of the volume. They're a uniquely different selling organization than going to an open state wholesaler operation, but they're just as vital and they're just as profitable, sometimes more profitable than the open states are. I'm also involved in basically what I would call, more of the tactical marketing aspects with some actually strategic marketing. But my career has been basically in building brands, building organizations, and then building brands through those organizations. So when Seagram was sold, I went to Allied Domet, which was another major supplier. They had brands like Maker's Mark, Malibu, Captain Morgan, excuse me, Malibu, Courvoisier, Beefeater's Gin, and quite a few others. They sold. I went out to work with the largest wholesaling operation and brokerage operation in the world, which was Southern Wine and Spirits, now Southern Glacier Wine and Spirits. There I ran a district for them for about 12 years, which was one of the best performing districts, ran a double-digit growth every year. Some of that's because of the marketplace it was in, but some I like to think is because of the people that I worked with and what we did together. So I've always tried to find this route to market method. And one of the things I developed over the time is this, what I would call best and brightest strategy. And that's that while brands are built and they're built by large companies, they basically, they lay out the bomb path. I mean, their invasion, it's D-Day invasion time, and they have the money and resources to do that. And there's confidence in the retailer trade to do that as well. What I realize when we don't have that resource path is you have to find the most opportune customers to first get your product in distribution and have that tie into what are your most opportune consumers. So you're looking for the stores and consumers, zip coding, whatever you want to call it, as far as geography, to mirror them together to say, with limited resources, how do I maximize each dollar spent? And that's taken some time to develop. It's thank God technology has caught up with us. But I now work for also another brand, which has been now the fastest growing vodka in America for the last 3 years. And, we've done that basically in a category that's flat. And we've done that by only being in about 7 or 8% of the off-premise accounts in America. Yet we're growing faster than anyone else. And the strategy is not to waste resources where distribution can dry up, but fish where the fish are, go to the best premium, in this case, vodka accounts, build distribution there, build rapport, and build your velocity per point of distribution. So that's the kind of the strategy that I've always employed that's been quite successful. And I don't want to say it's a maverick strategy, but many few people either have the expertise or the experience with it, or the patience to do what needs to be done. And I've been fortunate in my career; I've been able to be both an executive level and I've been street level. And while I was an executive level, I stayed in the street level as well and got to listen to customers. And customers usually will tell you what you need to do. Then the next piece is you have to have a unique brand that you want to sell, unique selling proposition to the consumer. And if you have that, and if you have the right brand, right, you've got the right place, you've got the right footprint to go to, you're doing the right things to promote your brand, whether it be sampling or other types of activities, display inside of those stores, doing promotion in bars, then unless something's wrong, you should be successful. But again, this is an aircraft carrier industry. It is not a sleek, fast boat in the sea. It takes time to build brands. Our life cycle is longer. Our brand product life cycle is much longer than most, but it also takes longer to build it. But it also you can hold a lot longer. So you can cash in at the high peak of the profitability of the brand much longer than most products. The bourbon market is vibrant today. There's no doubt about it. The industry, is a more of an aircraft carrier than it is a fleet, speedy, vessel through the water. There are definitely rogue waves and rogue activities that happen, but the industry grows at this 3 to 4% every year, with various brands and various categories shifting and moving. Right now, the bourbon category for the last really 5, 10 years has been one of the major proponents of the growth in the spirits category. The return of both young people and women to the category has just energized it. Now, if you look at some of the current information that's out there, you're going to see some of the fluctuations that happen. And that's a lot of times the fluctuations, not of the consumer market and demand, but of how the supplier tier or distiller tier has loaded the wholesaler tier to the retail tier. So after COVID, there was a huge demand for products because they were in shortages. People bought lots of them. Everybody ran out, and if they could, and stocked their shelves, stocked their bars, and did a lot of things. The industry, rather than telling investors that, gee, this is kind of a temporary activity and one that maybe we should be somewhat cautious as it being a long-term trend, just jumped on the thing, took their bonuses, and everybody was happy. Then, oh my goodness, next year, guess what? We can't match that trend. So instead of growing at 6%, it's growing at 4%. But the CAGR for the category through the year 35 is still at about 3 to 4%, and that includes some of the products inside the bourbon category that aren't really the hottest. The lower priced bourbons are pretty steady. It's been the more higher priced, more elegant, more defined, more craft type spirit that has really been a lot of the growth. And while it may not be in the same numbers or tonnage or barrels, it's been where the money's been at and where everybody's been playing. And that's a very healthy category. The word craft has always been a very interesting one that depends on, I guess, who is the viewer and who is the announcer of their craft or not. It never really started out when the industry began getting into craft spirits, and Tito went from being a craft vodka to a 5 million, 10 million case brand, and that was really not craft anymore. He considered himself to be craft, but the industry didn't consider it that way. And so the American Craft Spirits Association has been trying to define that, and that's usually around 100 to 125, 150,000 cases. And those numbers are really arbitrary to just trying to find a definition that can rope people into the category and I guess rope some others out of it so they would not be dominating. But when you make a $4,000 bottle of bourbon, and you're part of a major brand, is that really, a craft bourbon, or is that just another addition to the line? So I think we shouldn't get caught up so much in what is craft as much as where's the product coming from, where's the quality of it, and whether it really meets the taste dimensions into the consumer, the concept of craft. And what I mean, another example would be that Diageo puts out a collection of bourbons every year called the orphan bottles or barrels. And they find, within the industry enough to bottle, enough to be a few thousand cases. And they're 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 16-year-olds, and they command very high prices, well over $100. Diageo is by far the largest distiller in the world, but that's a craft bourbon. They're not producing it per se, or they're not making it in the mass generation style, but they've created a craft bourbon. And I think we have to be cautious that we don't try to define it too carefully. Again, stay to the ideas of what's the intention of the distiller, what is the product quality, what makes it uniquely different, and in a sense, what makes it a bit smaller than the average, 4-year-old bourbon that's on the shelf for 19.99. Well, I think what we're referring to is, the go-to-market or route-to-market strategies. And, what does the product demand, the resources or scale that you need to do that. So what we're seeing a lot of is people coming to market with brands that they intend to be larger, but they start small. I think the strategy that we've chosen is a little bit wiser. And that's what we're creating, and right now as we're aging and laying down bourbons to create a brand that's going to compete in probably a very exclusive but reachable price category. While we're doing that, a lot of the assets that we have are aging, and as barrels go, they evaporate, and they're ready to drink now. So the strategy would be to create a halo brand. And what that means basically is that you're creating something that's indicative of what you're going to have in the future. This is an example of the whiskeys that we've gathered. This is the example of the craftsmanship that's gone into it, the distillery, the blending, all the things that make great whiskeys. And by the way, this is a very limited edition and it's going to be hard to get. And the collector's market is such that people will scramble to find these unique bottles. If what we believe we have and we see what we're getting out of these barrels now is spectacular, then the result's going to be spectacular. It's not about um, creating lots of sales or lots of dollars per se, even though there will be money involved, it'll be profitable. But what is crazy is the buzz that you want around your brand, and that's the halo effect. And that is a kind of a classic marketing thing that has hard to do when you're a large supplier, when you want to come out with a line extension. How do you convince people that you're small? But we don't have to do that because we are small now and we will be growing. But we'll have hopefully two or three entries that people say, wow, look at this. This is somebody to watch. And when we do launch a brand or a major brand extension, and it's time to go to 50 markets or throughout the US or half of the US or whatever we decide to do, then we have that reputation behind us and the confidence of the retailer and the wholesaler network to carry the brand will be so much enhanced. So we don't have to be in 50 markets. We can be in one market. We can be in three markets. We can decide when we want to launch it at what time that's most opportune to us. And we can pick a good price range that we think is maximizing the image of the brand at the same time allowing it to be uh, at least in distribution enough for consumers to be aware of it. And then you've got to do the PR and the trade research or the trade activity that goes along with that. So people taste the brand, know what's there, and are writing about it. And today, as you probably, if you're a bourbon enthusiast, there's enough podcasts, articles, and things. It's not hard to find people to give you coverage. And so it's a wise strategy. I think the strategy for Lithgow is very interesting. It's very unique. There's two things you can do. You can obviously create brands to target women only, or you can build brands through women as the major components of your company and as spokespeople for the brand. And I think the combination that we're going for is more about the management, the style, and the leadership of women in the company, and our master distiller and blender being a woman. And that's going to appeal to both women. It's also going to appeal to men. If you make a great product, there's no resistance to that. And we're seeing more of that come. I think that we were pretty much in the forefront of it. A lot of the large corporations right now, I have somebody I work with who just got, she's created a cordial and Diageo just funded her. And not because she has a lot of volume, but she fits right now in the category they're looking for to give more exposure to women in the industry. And women have always been in the industry, but they have never really been exposed on a high level. And I think choosing Cleo as our spokesperson, let's say for about our celebrity, is also a wise one because there's a bit of reputation in there that is both sharp business and a little risque. I think those are the things that turn on consumers, and I think it appeals to men and women. So I think we have the best of both worlds. We're going to have a great bourbon. We're going to have the right people doing it who happen to be women. We're going to basically talk to women as well. And we're going to be part of what is happening in the industry now, which is a revolution, bringing products developed by women, not just for women, to the marketplace. Tommy couldn't be better.